Let's reflect on the life of an iconic South African, shall we? The National Association of Democratic Lawyers, NADEL, has hosted the annual Pius Langa Memorial Lecture. The event honors the life and legacy of the country's first black Chief Justice. A number of legal practitioners, members of the Judiciary and the broader public were in attendance. Advocate Muzi Sikhakhane delivering the keynote address, highlighting critical discussions on issues at the heart of the country's democracy and issues facing the legal profession. This year's theme is centered around responsibility, transformation, unity, healing the past, and shaping the future. So let's reflect on that lecture. I'm joined now by the Chairperson of NADEL, Mhlangabezi Maliwa. Good afternoon, and thank you for your time. Let's start with a reflection on the lecture. Advocate Muzi Sikhakhane being the keynote speaker. Talk about your big takeouts from the lecture that he delivered and the charge that he left with members of NADEL.
Thank you very much. This is Mhlangabezi Maliwa, the Chairperson of NADEL, Pretoria branch. You are correct.
Mr. Maliwa?
Who better to deliver this kind of a lecture than Advocate Sikhakhane SC? So what we learn today from SC is the comparison in particular of that generation of Ndate Pius Langa to the current generation of today. It was clear on that time of Ndate Pius Langa that this thing of being an attorney, for them, it was not only about money, it was not only about invoicing, but it was something that they were doing to assist into those who needed assistance, those who coming from the disadvantaged background. But if you do and check, today you find that us, as this new generation, most of us, we prefer to do work that is going to give us remuneration. We do away slowly with this work that is called the pro bono. That is what we are learning from our guest speaker, which is Advocate SC, about Ndate Pius Langa, as to how Ndate Pius Langa did compared to what this young generation is doing.
The late former Chief Justice Pius Langa was a member and in the leadership of NADEL for quite a number of years before, of course, pivoting and joining the Judiciary. Talk to me about some of the lessons that you personally draw from his life, in particular as it relates to getting stuck in and the vexing questions that vex the nation at the time, over and above just legal practice. You alluded a few minutes ago about legal representation of some of those who are vulnerable in society. But it seems to me there were other lessons that have to do with getting involved in the struggle at that point, and perhaps lessons for the current generation of NADEL about today's contemporary struggles.
We are talking about the founder of NADEL. We are talking about the person that I even in my welcoming borrow his words from a piece of paper he wrote called Transformative Constitutionalism. That's where I want to answer you, where it says there is no longer place for assertions that the law can be kept isolated from politics. While they are not the same, they are inherently and necessarily linked. Now, to answer direct your question about this piece of paper, you find that
yes.
The network here is disturbing.
All right, you can continue.
The young generation of today, we think that the law can stand on its own, of which it cannot, because you find that as legal practitioners, we are aloof from the politics, while these political decisions are affecting the country, while these are affecting the space. This is what we are learning from Ndate Pius Langa, to say that Ndate Pius Langa at that time viewed these two that they marry each other. You can't separate the and politics. They marry other. That is why we're trying to motivate the young generation to say, you can't see that without being involved in politics with.
Yeah. So what are the different struggles towards which you are directing that challenge and charge to today's generation of legal practitioner? If the struggle for the likes of Pius Langa was about fighting apartheid as a system, about being one of the first few black advocates to practice in then Natal and the realities that came with all of that, if it was about being part of the UDF and the various structures, as well as participating in the transition and negotiations for our democracy, the struggles for today's legal practitioner, for today's NADEL member, that they can grapple with within the confines of profession, but ultimately talk to the political and policy realities that we live with.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'm happy you put this question like this, because one of the reasons of the formation of by the then started Pius Langa was to dismantle the apartheid system at that time. However, when you look at 5 years later, we must twist what they were fighting for at that particular time. That at this current time, we are faced with access to justice. We are faced with barriers of the new legal practitioners who are unable to access and enter the scheme. We must work on it as NADEL in remembrance of Ndade Pius Langa, to say we acknowledge the fight that they fought in that particular time. However, the challenges that we are facing currently are slightly different, such as those that I mentioned, that the barriers that one needs in order for that particular legal practice admitted as an attorney, access to court, access to justice. Because even currently, when we are sitting now, hence I was saying to you to say, look, if a client is coming to me, does not have money to deposit me for that particular case, I might not be interested to take up that particular case. Those are the things that perhaps we need to strengthen the desk of pro bono to see how do we strengthen this desk in order to make sure that our community members, they do not suffer because of they don't have money to be represented by the legal practitioners.
All right,
in particular in the private sector.
All right, let's leave it there. Thank you for sharing with us some of the insights and challenges and the charge that has come through from the Pius Langa Memorial Lecture delivered earlier on by Advocate Muzi Sikhakhane, in attendance there, members of the National Association of Democratic Lawyers, NADEL. That was Mhlangabezi Maliwa, the chairperson of the Pretoria chapter of NADEL, reflecting on that.